sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today about your social life that you can experience in Night City, because yes, you can develop friendships, relationships, and have sex in Cyberpunk 2077. There's going to be sex workers, but you can also have very meaningful relationships in this game. There's been a ton of previews about how this system works, and we're going to be talking about it in depth today. Plus, we're also going to be taking a look at the facial animation system in this game as well, because it lends to this first-person perspective and actually building these relationships. Seeing these characters in first person really does help, with developing these relationships. So let's do this. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good, and let's dive straight into the video. Also, I'm going to be going over your top comments, so be sure to leave a comment down below for a chance for it to end up right here in the video. But this was the headline from GameSpot, and I'm going to be sourcing several different articles here and previews, so please check them out in the description below if you want the full read. But this is hilarious. It goes on to say this: Dear CD Projekt Red, sorry I made you watch a Cyberpunk 2077 sex scene with me. And this was from the perspective of a journalist sitting there with, one of the developers from CD Projekt Red watching these sex scenes. So I guess it was a little awkward. All right, now, this is what the article goes on to say about how sex and sex workers actually work in Cyberpunk 2077. It goes on to say this: the easiest way to create a bow chicka wow wow situation in Night City is to seek out sex workers who hang around in certain districts like Kabiki, or however you say it, and who are marked on your map by a slightly parted pair of lips. I found one such woman on an infamous sex-addled strip called Jig Jig Street, although you can pick up workers of other genders as well. Finding and hiring a sex worker goes about how you'd expect, with a quick discussion and small transaction of Night City's currency eddies to trigger a sexy cutscene. Now, here is the actual gameplay of what it's like to walk around in one of these districts where some of these sex workers are hanging out at. You can see some of the lip markers that you can actually approach and actually engage with some of these sex workers as well. And it looks like there's some plot points around human trafficking from what I'm seeing. I'm curious to see how far they take that as well, if they go the full-blown Taken type route with those story arcs. So there might be some of that in the game as well. Let's get back into the details, shall we? So furthermore, it says this: players familiar with CD Projekt Red's last big RPG, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, will have an idea of what to expect in terms of boning down, although the scene is a bit more involved and a bit more graphic than what Carol gets up to. Now, protagonist V and his partner slam the ham in a number of positions, all played from a first-person perspective. They really stuck to the first-person perspective in this game. And they say this: and there was a fair amount of full-frontal female nudity and moaning in the scene. Just as an aside, there is a lot of boobs in Night City. Alright, can you imagine being the voice actor responsible for the moaning? How much did you get paid for that one? Alright, moving on. Let's keep going, shall we? Alright, furthermore, it goes on to say this: things cut away at key moments, so it never really gets full on porno, and it's all over in probably 30 seconds, which maybe doesn't speak too kindly of V's performance. Hopefully there's a mod to help with that. Oh my god. Maybe some PC modder will be like, we've extended the sex scenes clear up to 10 minutes. But anyway, yeah, I found that absolutely hilarious. So yeah, they really stuck to the first person perspective for sure. Really believed in it hardcore with Cyberpunk 2077. Now, relationships in Cyberpunk 2077 aren't just going to be about sex, of course. You can develop very meaningful relationships, and it's been confirmed that a lot of these relationships, depending on how you treat the person, is going to affect your missions in the game. Like, you can open up missions, close missions, you can even piss off certain fixers who will then come after you. I found that really, really cool. So you don't want to piss off people too much. Now, what I found really interesting also is one of your key relationships in the game, of course, is going to be with Johnny Silverhand. And yes, you might be able to piss him off. I'm really curious because at one point in one of the gameplay trailers, he threatens you and he says, "Don't piss me off." He says something to this extent, "or I am going to take over your body." So that was really intriguing to me to see if you can really screw up that relationship with Johnny Silverhand. So yeah, there's a lot more than just sex in this game. There's a lot of depth with character building and relationship building for sure. Let's get into that a little bit more right now. So it goes on to say this: besides the sex workers you'll meet, there are many other people you'll spend time with in Night City, and you can develop some pretty close relationships with them. Both the main story and side quests put you in contact with people you'll wind up hanging around with, like Judy, a brain dance editor, Panem, a nomad mercenary, and River, an NCPD detective, as you complete missions with these characters and choose different dialogue options that seem to affect their view of you. You'll get opportunities to have conversations and exchange text with them, and that can create more opportunities for side quests. According to Matez, he's from CD Projekt Red, by the way, many of those characters have expansive story arcs that you'll work through on those side quests, although he was cagey about explaining just how deep things might get. Now, also, there was another preview that I read, and it looks like if you don't get back to people in time, they will be offended. So if you're like, I'll get back to her, way later down the road, it might be too late. You might have already offended that character. And that's the same thing with any relationship in this game, really. It seems that there could be some sort of soft time limit related to getting back to people, and even, paying certain people as well. Now, furthermore, it says this: so it's an open question of whether, after adapting those working relationships into friendships, you can also turn them into romances. On a story quest with Panem, she and V stop at a small motel outside the limits of Night City as they prepare to execute a job. As the pair hang out at the bar and drink, Panem books a couple of rooms so they can sleep, and I choose the dialogue option, which V suggests they share a room. "Good idea, saves money," Panem replies. "Give us one of those rooms with twin beds." When I pushed the issue further and V stumbled through the suggestion of just one bed to celebrate the previous job they just pulled off, Panem laughed him off. So yeah, it seems like you might have to work on certain relationships as well. If it's gonna be interesting if it's going to be your ultimate goal, of course, to get into bed with a character. That's of course going to be up to you when you play the game, or actually have a meaningful relationship with that character. All right, let's keep going, shall we? So yeah, relationships really do matter in this game, and again, Johnny Silverhand is going to be a key character in this game. It has been revealed that he's not just going to be a sidekick. He's going to be a side protagonist. Again, Keanu Reeves voiced this character, but he has the most voice lines of anyone in the game, which I found absolutely incredible. And you know what? The Jolly facial animation system really lends to speaking to these characters from first-person perspective. Here are some examples. As you can see here, I feel like they really have nailed this part down. It seems like the game is really about these relationships. Yes, it is an RPG, of course, but they have said in these previews that are coming out about Cyberpunk 2077 that it's more about a slow burn with this game, developing relationships, developing your own character, and figuring out where you fit in this world. It's not going to be a run and gun shoot 'em up experience like Call of Duty or something like that. It's going to be very much a CD Projekt Red experience. And now it's time for your top comments. Did you think I forgot? Hell no. So remember to leave a comment down below for a chance for it to end up in a future video. But let's do this. Let us begin. Michael Lang says this: this is a world where everyone can modify themselves to be uber hulks. Being bullet sponges makes sense if V is only just starting out upgrading himself. Or themselves. Yes, and you got tons of upvotes, so a lot of people agreed on this. There's been previews that have indicated that when you enter this world or start playing at first, there are a ton of high-level characters all around the world, indicating to me that the game is going to encourage you to explore certain areas first and work your way out as you build up your character. And personally, I think that system sounds really cool. And of course, you're going to expect high-level characters, very high-level characters, when you enter those combat zones, which are the most threatening areas of Night City. Now, furthermore, Adamaj says this: if you try to play this as a straightforward shooter, you may be disappointed by its combat. Good, that's great news. Jesus, that's all we need is another fast twitch, perpetual movement, no attention span, same old Call of Duty clone, generic FPS combat. So a lot of you agreed with this one. In fact, I've heard this is more like Deus Ex than it is like Call of Duty. Of course, you know, that makes a lot of sense that they would have that comparison. And it seems like you can go in and do whatever you want with the shooting, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot like Grand Theft Auto 5 either, in the fact that you're not going to be focused on stealing stuff and things like that. Now, furthermore, Jason Thomas says the following: I love games that are a slow burn. And many of the journalists that are saying that the combat is weak are probably Call of Duty fans and want every game to be Call of Duty. I don't like that some journalists expect every game that has any kind of gunplay to be comparable to Call of Duty. That's ridiculous. I'm sure the combat is fine, especially since the gunplay is only one part of the combat. That is very, very true. Stealth and melee combat as well. So yeah, there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of options. You can go full-blown netrunner, hacker, stealth, or, you know, gunplay. Melee combat, katana blades are in the game. So a wide variety of combat. And that's what one person mentioned in their preview, is that, yeah, you know, moment-to-moment combat isn't exactly the highlight. It's the choices you have before you even enter combat with your character and how you actually develop your character's relationships, combat, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely an RPG. King Dog 360 says, I can imagine V and Johnny Silverhand being like Batman and Joker in Batman Arkham Knight, when Batman has Joker stuck in his head. Maybe, just maybe, that's kind of what they're going for with this game. Wouldn't that be interesting? That'd be actually really, really cool. For sure. Iron Fist Dude says, I think we all know that most important thing within the gameplay footage is the fact we can ride a roller coaster, right guys? You got a lot of upvotes, so it seems like a lot of you are actually looking forward to the downtime in the game, which they did show like snippets of this in the trailer. It looks like you can go to like concerts, you could go on boating trips, it appears, nightclubs, all sorts of cool stuff in this game, and yes, even roller coasters. Furthermore, Cybercat says, the people claiming this game to be a masterpiece are going to be the most toxic people on launch day, so I advise to stay off the internet and enjoy the game for yourself. I love this advice right here. Learn to enjoy what you love despite what others are saying. That's exactly how I feel. Try to ignore reviews and stuff like that. And also, I do agree that this game most likely is not going to be perfect, especially from what we have witnessed with these previews. You know, a lot of journalists got 16 hours with the game, and they did say, yeah, it's buggy. However, they mentioned that this was before the day one patch, so that's something super notable. And they also mentioned that, yeah, maybe it was wise that they did actually delay this game the 21 days. There you have it, the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to stay tuned for more Cyberpunk 2077 news updates. I am going to be covering the hell out of this game pretty much as long as possible, as long as the game has a life, which it looks like to me it's going to have a very long life for sure, even post-launch with the DLC. So stay tuned for constant news updates about whatever is happening around the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.